Sabah al-Khair, good morning dear listeners. You're listening to Radio 3CR on 855 AM and Palestine Remembered with Robert Martin, Nasser Mashni and Yousef Ahmed al-Rimawi.
Palestine Remembered is Australia's only English-language radio program that is totally dedicated to Palestine. We'd like to welcome those listening on 855 and those that will join us on podcast at 3cr.org.au.
Thanks for joining us. Stay with us and enjoy the episode.
Good morning, Nasser.
Yousef, how you doing?
What a busy month that we have just...
Well, we're also very tired now that PAL-vember has finished.
Yes, let's also start the show by saying thank you to all our listeners and supporters for not being a little bit angry about us for not being able to produce a couple of episodes, but also to whoever joined and supported and participated in PAL-vember.
Yeah, look, we were.
So to recap,
a very big month.
Let's start with the beginning of the month.
So we had the Palestine Film Festival. Mm-hmm. Then there was the Black Palestinian Solidarity Conference, followed by Palestine National Day, flag raising, 15th of November. The Run for Palestine, 17th of November, which was Melbourne, Sydney, Adelaide, Perth, and Hobart, 6 cities this year. And then it culminated on the 22nd of November with the Jerusalem Peace Prize.
And on a non-Palestinian but Arab event, there was an event on Wednesday, Averroes Center of Arab Culture the launch of Averroes Center.
Fundraiser, yeah.
And the fundraiser. So let's start with Palestine Film Festival. The 10th round this year. What an amazing work.
Amazing work. And, magnificently, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne, Adelaide, Perth and Tasmania. So
the next day started a big event that took months and months in the making. The Black Palestinian Solidarity Conference.
Chaired by Professor Gary Foley, who spoke about his introduction to Palestine in 1973 at Monash University, where he was walking through the campus, and Monash at the time, named after General Monash, an ardent Zionist, Australian Jewish Zionist. And the Monash campus at the time was a hotbed of Zionism. That they walked up and they saw a group of people, Gary Foley and I can't remember one of his friends, a group of people beating up one person. And he said, when you're an Aboriginal in Australia and you see a group of people beating up one person, something's not right. And so they went in to grab this one guy, whose name was Muhammad Ali. And they rescued him, and because they went in to save them, these group, the Zionists, started attacking Gary and his friend. And then once that started happening, a whole bunch of other students came, and so it became almost the whole campus, if you will. You're either Zionist or you weren't Zionist in this melee. So they dragged Muhammad Ali out, and Gary said to him, how come these guys are beating you up? He said, well, I'm Palestinian. And this was during the Yom Kippur War. 73.
And that was their first encounter.
That was his first encounter with a Palestinian. And
some form of solidarity with Palestinians.
Yeah. And so along that journey from 1973 till here we are, 2019, some 46 years later, obviously the similarities of our struggles against a brutal occupying colonialist power that seeks not only to, not sought in the first instance to claim terra nullius, that there was... nobody on the land. The land was empty. And this is a common story between, the British that came here and also the Zionists.
The Zionists who said that this is a land with no people that belongs to people with no land.
Yeah, a land without people for a people without land.
Yeah.
So that's our terra nullius as Palestinians. And along that journey, Gary obviously, aside from seeing the similarities in our struggles, also on an intersectional basis understood that our struggle as Palestinians is intimately linked with the Aboriginal struggle, but also the struggle of all indigenous peoples to rid themselves of the brutality of colonialism and Western imperialism.
The struggle of all victims of colonial imperialism and
West Papua, Kashmir,
indigenous North
Americans,
and South Americans.
Absolutely. So one day we will all be free, Yousef, and it will be a fantastic day because we can
celebrate.
We can, one of our jokes, listeners, between Yousef and I is, when Palestine's free, it's going to be fantastic because, we will barely have to work a day because there'll be so many public holidays.
So many holidays, yes.
Liberation Day, Naksa Day, Nakba Day.
First Intifada, second
Intifada.
And there will be the Independence Day.
And Independence Day.
And Liberation Day, inshallah. So we will go back to the conference in a future episode because the speakers, the participants who came from around Australia and overseas were just amazing group of people, and it's very challenging to summarize what they did in a few minutes, so we'll dedicate an episode in future. So after the Black Palestinian Solidarity Conference, then came
Palestine National Day, the flag-raising ceremony, which has become an institution for us now on the 15th of November every year.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, this year, our desire for celebration was dampened because in the days before, the Israelis had decided, it's time to mow the lawn in Gaza, which is a euphemism for, we need to go kill some Palestinians to win some votes, which Benjamin Netanyahu, who, hopefully will be in jail very soon, has been indicted by the Israeli courts for corruption charges.
Bribery,
yeah.
Misuse of power, yeah.
Well, in his pursuit of, electoral significance, it's very important to, every now and again, reach into Gaza.
Just on this point, Nasser, isn't it sad that for you to get more votes, for you to have more popularity among your constituency, more people have to die?
Well,
isn't this really tragic and ironic and sad?
Well, it is very sad. The challenge, the sadder thing, aside from the actual deaths, which are, beyond harrowing and saddening, is that the blood is so cheap that the, an entire, 8 members of a family.
But also it tells you how sick is a society
that,
cheers and celebrates death. And, makes you a hero if you kill more of the others that belong to the wrong type of people, according to them. So anyway, I thought to...
Yeah. So I was going to extend on that, Yousef, and in fact, that our collective brown blood is so cheap that it doesn't even rank, a news report. We're more interested in... it could be some dog did a trick in Washington or, a turkey being given a pardon by Donald Trump.
Everybody
is
talks about the dog that died in the
was injured
in the or injured in the
Conan,
operation.
Conan the dog.
Yeah, everybody knows the name of the dog who was injured in the operation of al-Baghdadi assassination, but nobody knows any of the names of the 39 Palestinians killed in a few days in Gaza.
So whilst it was a somber event, Flag Day, hundreds of Palestinians gathered, and we were able to sing the national anthem and watch our flag fly proudly over Melbourne, which was great. And then on the 17th of November, we had Melbourne's 8th Run for Palestine, which was Melbourne, Adelaide, Sydney, Perth, Canberra and Hobart, and we raised something of the order of $40,000, close to $40,000 for...
Congratulations.
Yeah, for the Olive Kids charity, which was great.
And tell me more about the project, because this is year 5 or 6 in the run?
Year 8 for the run.
Year 8
for the run.
Well done.
And
tells you that, I'm not doing much of the run.
Not much of the running, no.
Yeah.
So the run,
tell me how it started.
So it started, we're always looking for ways to celebrate Palestine that aren't demonstrations. Because the reality is, when you think about Palestine and what opportunities have I got to engage in Palestine, the reality is for most first and second generations and third generation Palestinians, Australian Palestinians, is, we're heading to the State Library, and because we're going to go say free Palestine,
protest and anger.
We're going to protest over blood.
Yeah,
and so
which is rightly so, and we will continue to do that.
And we have to do that, no question. We'd like not to do it because there was some humanity in the world, but the reality is that's inevitable once a year at least, that we're going to have to do that. So the thought was we need to start creating some events that give Palestinians and their supporters an opportunity to come together and have some fun.
Yep.
Detach.
And show solidarity with Palestinians.
Show solidarity, but detach the need to protest. Can we get together, show solidarity, have some fun, and just be Palestinian?
And talk Palestine in another venue.
In another venue, that's right. So that was one of the drivers for the Run for Palestine, as well as being a fundraiser.
Yep.
And certainly along the journey, nationally, we would have raised well over $200,000 over the past 8 years. So
well done.
It's been great.
So after that,
and then we had the conclusion of PAL-vember on the 22nd, which was the Jerusalem Al-Quds Peace Prize, and this is the most salubrious Palestine event in Australia.
Which is another venue, I have to say, having been in the Palestine advocacy and activism in the last 15 years in Australia, we don't have much venues where it's a little bit posh and,
Well, yes, look, Yousef, I mean, our listeners can go to JerusalemPeacePrize.com, the website, and the videos are not yet uploaded, but I would commend them to visit that website in the next week or so. They can look at Emeritus Professor Stuart Rees's speech for last year, and our winner this year, Australian Jewish activist and author Anthony Lowenstein's
Before we
speech.
talk about the recipients of the prize, I want to talk about the prize.
Let's talk about the hall. So if they watch the video, they can hear the speeches, but you'll also get a sense for Victoria Hall. Now, to give our listeners, I mean, many of our listeners would know, but in fact, before Canberra was the capital of Australia, in fact, Melbourne was. And Victoria Hall was a hall opened by Queen Victoria, and it was where the Australian First Parliament sat. It is the most salubrious room in Australia. In Victoria, definitely. I don't know. I'm stretching.
And probably in the Southern Hemisphere.
Yeah, look, it's very old school, imperial, and
lots of gold, lots of prestigious.
It's all heritage listed. The mosaic in the foyer, is all hand done. Just the most truly stunning and gorgeous piece of, late 19th century British architecture.
So by the sound of it, doesn't sound like one of the venues for Palestine.
It's definitely not something you would
expect.
Yeah. You would associate with a Palestine event.
Yeah.
So the Jerusalem Peace Prize, the Jerusalem Al-Quds Peace Prize, is awarded to an Australian for their work in support of the Palestinians' just rights, for self-determination, for the right of return, for their humanity. And interestingly, this year, the Jerusalem Peace Prize that we awarded to Anthony Lowenstein on the 22nd of November, in fact, the Jewish Board of Deputies, the Australia-Israel Jewish Affairs Council, and the Zionist Israel Lobby, in fact, gave a Jerusalem Prize as well. Theirs is called the Jerusalem Prize. And
ours is Jerusalem Al-Quds
Peace Prize.
Peace Prize.
Theirs is not a Peace Prize.
Yeah.
And the reason it's not a Peace Prize is because, this year was awarded to Scott Morrison, has been awarded to such fantastic people as John Howard. Ron Harper, Stephen Harper of Canada, it's, passed around to people who are sycophantic in their support of Zionism and the State of Israel. And I won't read out the commentary from the quotes from Morrison's speech, but it's the sickening stuff of "We'll never leave Israel alone. The UN is bad. You're a beacon of democracy. We've got shared values." And I mean, it's all true. Your shared values because you've ethnically cleansed the population to create a settler colonial state on the blood and misery of the indigenous people. So it was very interesting, and in fact, we've got an op-ed. We've written an op-ed, and our president, Bishop George Browning, has written a op-ed that we're shopping around, endeavouring to get in the newspapers. Sadly, I mean, as you might expect, we've already had a couple of no's from the mainstream media.
So the first recipient last year was Professor Stuart Rees for his great work during the Sydney Peace Prize and Hanan Ashrawi.
Yeah, but also for
standing for human rights in general.
A beacon of humanity is Stuart Rees.
Yeah. And this year, go on.
And he stands for a lot of causes, from the environment to West Papua, from Palestine to Kashmir. This is a man of unparalleled humanity. And this year, Anthony Lowenstein was awarded the prize. And he's done a power of work from the first instance, his first book, My Israel Question, where the
listeners need to know that we're talking about a member of the Jewish community of Melbourne.
Well, a Zionist Jewish community. Like his family was a Zionist family. His first interaction with, something's not quite right here. And then his personal journey and exploration that ultimately saw not just himself, but his mother and father excommunicated from the community, the Zionist community. And that was a price they had to pay, supporting their son for when he saw the light. And certainly it was a great honour for us to bestow that award on him.
I just want to say that one of the members of the Jewish community who support the Palestinian rights for independence, when she or he, I'm not going to give any indication of who that person is, when she or he participated in our protest in 2013, this person received a text message from the father, and that person showed me that message, and it said, by you going to a Palestine event, it's like a dagger stabbed in my heart. There is a level of difficulty and pain that every Jew or Israeli that comes and supports us have to pay for standing with us that we don't know of. Yeah. And Anthony,
well, it's very brave. I mean, look, it's easy for us to pontificate from the outside, Yousef. Where Palestinians go, we're right. I mean, they're saying they're right. We've got to be realistic. Of course. Human beings are human beings. Yeah. We know we're right though, and we know they're wrong. So it's much easier for us. But for to leave your family, for your father to send you a text message like that, for your mother and father, and Anthony spoke about it in his speech. The reality, his mother passed 3 years ago. The funeral was very poorly attended because her life's friends have long since forsaken her. So it's not an easy thing to do.
Huge price.
Yeah, it's a huge price.
Definitely a worthy recipient. So congratulations, Nasser, and everybody for trying to put together these wonderful events in 1 month in Lisbon.
No, it's very, very busy. So make sure you go to the website, JerusalemPeacePrize.com, and have a look at the videos in the next week or so. In particular, watch out for my speeches. They're really great fun.
I'm looking forward to watching your speech when it's uploaded because unfortunately I missed out. So, which is not good, no solidarity.
Yeah, no, it's terrible. Yousef left early, everybody.
Yousef left early.
He had a hot date.
Yes, that didn't go well. Before that, Nasser, there was a very important key Palestinian figure who visited Australia for the first time, Salman Abu Sitta.
Yes, Dr. Salman Abu Sitta, who is well into his 80s and is the president of the Palestine Land Society and the author of the seminal book, The Palestine Atlas.
And also the president of Al-Auda Center in London.
Yeah, the Return Center. This is a man of such grace and decorum, but also such a learned man. And he gave the 14th Edward Said Memorial Lecture in Adelaide, which has been organised by the Australian Friends of Palestine Association.
There's a famous saying in Islamic jurisprudence about the importance of Malik ibn Anas. When somebody, and the saying says, you do not seek fatwa when Malik is in town. And we say, you don't talk about the right of return when Salman Abu Sitta is around. He is the address for the right of return particularly.
And look, he gave a fantastic presentation in Melbourne, and the theme of which was about the right of return, and because it's such an important tenet as to the solution. Because without the right of return or without a just resolution, there is no justice, and if there is no justice, there's no peace.
There's also this right of return is surrounded by propaganda. Something like there will be no room for
and this is important. This is where he addresses
and there's a long list of propaganda and stereotypes.
Absolutely, and he finishes on a very strong point, which I'm very keen to get to, Yousef. But so the premise of his Beach, is that, that what we have is an occupation and an ethnic cleanse that's unsurpassed in history. There was a premeditation in the plan. In the 30s and 40s, the preparation was done to make sure that when the time was right, that Plan Dalet, organised by David Ben-Gurion, could be enacted. It was supported by colonial powers. It's been maintained for 7 decades. There's so many resolutions in favour of us that haven't been implemented. I mean, they went, into Iraq immediately. And the second time without
even a mandate.
Without a mandate from the UN. UN Resolution 194, which is the right of Palestinian refugees to return to their homes
and to get compensated
and or be compensated, has been reaffirmed by the United Nations over 125 times.
125 times.
Still nothing.
And this is the prerequisite of Israel joining the UN.
Correct. So, listeners, for Israel to become a member of the United Nations,
there was a condition,
a precondition on their acceptance and elevation to a state in the United Nations General Assembly was the fulfillment of 194, which is still now 72 years, it's kind of coming up to now, undone. The partition plan was a recommendation. It has no legal authority. In fact, in March of 48, the US dropped the partition plan. The ethnic cleansing started before the State of Israel was declared. The State of Israel was declared May 15. The ethnic cleansing starts at Deir Yassin and in the days earlier in April.
And in fact, it started
6 weeks before.
A few days even after the partition plan in November 47.
47, correct.
Yeah.
And this is, days, months even before a single Arab soldier set foot in Palestine.
Yeah.
Which is, the propaganda disseminated by the Zionists that, there was
7 Arab armies invaded us.
As if. And that the creation was in self-defense. There was no self-defense.
No.
There was 120,000 Israeli soldiers, officers from World War II that had been fighting all over the world. So they were battle-hardened, 120,000 with equipment, with 10 years of planning, and had fought in regular armies through World War II.
And even aided by foreign soldiers, including Soviet Union soldiers.
Correct.
Now we see documents coming out that there were Soviet Union soldiers sent by Stalin to aid the Zionists in 47 and 48.
And the reality, that myth that it's a land without people for people without land, they found the people there, but to make the land, they had to make it a land without people, which necessitated the ethnic cleansing. Because without ethnic cleansing, there is no Israel.
Yep. And this is even the confession of the Zionist leaders like Menachem Begin. Without Deir Yassin, Israel would not have been born.
Correct. In excess of 85 and up to almost 88% of all of the Palestinian refugees live within a very narrow band around Palestine. So the cost of physical movement is very cheap. Most refugees don't need to fly. Many of them can just walk home. The denying of the right of return is a war crime. The Rome Statute says international law sits solidly behind the Palestinians. There's no legal, no economic, no geographic, no logistical reason why the Palestinians can't go home. There's only one obstacle: Zionism and the racist nature of Zionism. The concept of an apartheid colonialism that precludes Palestinians returning. Because if Palestinians come back, Jews are no longer a majority. It's no longer a Jewish state. And to maintain the superiority of the Jew within that land, we need to keep it clean of
Arabs,
non-Jews.
whether Muslims or Christians. And
the reality, as we know, and we talk about peace with justice, it only happens with the return. And this is one of the things he addressed, and he addressed so skillfully, is the concept that the Palestinian return will equal a Jewish Nakba. And this is a falsehood. This is predicated on us having Zionist mentalities, when in the reality, when the Jews came to Palestine after World War I and into World War II, initially there was no challenge.
Because we protected them like we protected the Armenians and the Circassians, and the list goes on.
And when often it's, termed in, as a conflict and it's too hard and it's way over there. The reality is a burglar comes to your house, kills half your family, kicks out the rest of you, moves all of the remaining living ones into one room, locks them in there, chooses how much food can go in or out, when you can come in or out, how often you can be in or out, nobody would accept that. That's not justice. But that's the reality on a very simple scale of what Palestine has been through. The very, very salient point in how he closed his presentation is in 1948, the Jews of Palestine owned less than 7% of Palestine. They ended up with 78%. That 71 is illegal under international law. The 7% that they owned, today, 2019, 87% of the Jews of Israel live within, not the 7%, but around 10 or 11%.
Mm.
So that initial 7% has grown a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Tel Aviv's grown, Jaffa's grown, the sections around in the north in the Galilee have grown. But of the 7% that they did own, if you extended that to around 11%, 87% of the Jews of Israel live in that area, which leaves all of the other bit
uninhabited.
Well, inhabited with 13%.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're talking 6 million people. 13% is, less than a million. Just over, is about 800,000 of them. 800,000 are living in 89% that was not theirs.
Mm.
So the reality is that in excess of 80 and upwards of 90% of Palestinians can return to dirt.
Yep.
Now, there is still 10% that are going to go back and say, get out of my house, and they have to get out.
Including my grandfather.
Correct.
In Safad.
Yep. The colonialist that is sitting illegally in somebody else's home has to get out and pay compensation. But something of the order of high 80s, 90% of the Palestinians can go back to their farms, to villages that were raised, and rebuild their homes. And the money that they spend today giving to Israel, this is nothing he said, the $3 billion, $4 billion a year, over 10 years, $40 billion, will build 1 million accommodation properties, which will house 6 million Palestinians.
Because
in 10 years, we solve the right of return. We can create a constitution that protects everybody, a separation of church and state. Everybody's happy.
Or the money dedicated by the Americans in the deal of the century, $40 billion US dollars, can go into something like head toward a real solution.
The solution is very clear and easy. And I'm very optimistic, having seen Dr. Salman Abu Sitta's work and the presentation that he presented to us. It's only a function of time.
So the bottom line is for the Zionists, get your facts right before you talk about...
Well, I mean, Yousef, the reality we know, facts, we can't let facts get in the way of a good story.
Yeah.
Look,
Nasser, this is a very important cause. The Palestinian cause itself is made up of important pillars. One of the most fundamental pillars is the right of return. And with the work of Salman Abu Sitta and with your statement, that makes us optimistic and hopeful that the day will come and that Palestinian refugees will return.
Inshallah.
There's no better statement to end this episode with, Nasser. Thank you so much for this reflections on a great month for Palestine. And thank you for our listeners for tuning in to another episode of Palestine Remembered. Until next Saturday, this is Nasser, Yousef and Robert, wishing you the best of time and salam.